Hello and welcome to livealittlehigher.com. This week we begin learning or reading the third book of the 5 books of Moshe of the Torah with the book of Leviticus or Vayikra. And the book of Vayikra is the hardest book of all the Torah to come to understand and to grasp, because it deals with the many sacrifices that were done in the times of the temple and in the times of the tabernacle in the desert. There were the sin offerings, the gratitude offerings, there were peace offerings. There were many types of offerings that were offered in the times of the temple, and they're all detailed in this book of Vayikra. The other theme that is in this book is the theme of holiness, of kadosh, of kedusha, that is engulfing this whole book. And we have to come to understand what these sacrifices or korbanot really mean in order to understand what kedusha, what means to be really a holy person. So here it tells us in the book of Rabbi Adin Steinswald, Rabbi talks on the parasha, he explains that there's no other book that talks so much about holiness, about holy kadosh, as the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, in the whole Tanakh. And also he explains the definition of holiness in such a way that we have to come to understand that holiness is not exactly the definition we would think it really is. We imagine that holiness is a person dressed in white, and it's a person that doesn't like to eat, and it's a person that doesn't like to get dressed in fancy clothes, and it's a person that doesn't mind if he has a nice house. We would think this is a holy person, but in reality the definition of holiness in the Torah is a complete different definition. If we look at the kings of the people of Israel, at the high priests, Aaron HaKohen, at Moshe, they were immensely rich people. They were very rich, they were in a very high social status, they were very important people. Nevertheless, they were very holy people. So let's understand what holiness really means in the context of the Torah. And he says here that holiness is not only what one does or one does not do in the temple, but something that applies even in places that have nothing to do with all the ritual holiness of the sanctuary or the temple. It is a spiritual quality in its own right. So what Rabbi Steinswald is explaining here is that we think that holiness it's something that is structured in one specific time or a specific situation. Like Jews on Shabbat, they're holy, like they keep Shabbat. They don't turn on the phone, they don't go to work, they go to shul, they pray all day, they're eating special food, and that would determine that they're holy people. But what he's telling us here, and what the Torah is trying to teach us, is that holiness is not something that is defined by a time or a space. It's defined by your everyday life. Like, a person that is holy is a person that is holy in shul and outside of shul. It's a person that in the street is gonna act in a holy way. He's not gonna be pushing people in the subway to get in faster. He's not gonna be in his business dealings. He's not gonna be trying to rip people off, even though he prays all day on Saturday, So what it's telling us here is that holiness is something that we have to carry with us every day, every minute, and every place that we go. So here we know that holiness diverges from the ritual sphere and takes on a different meaning, something special or unique. And from the book of Leviticus, it follows that in an ordinary person, if an ordinary person steals, he too infringes somehow on holiness. Like, for a Jew to steal is something that is very, very bad, because we have a spark of God inside of us, and we carry God with us everywhere we go. It's a mamesh, a piece of Hashem. So if a Jew is stealing, he's putting that piece of God in this world to be part of his bad behavior. And that it's like the worst that a person can do. So to defraud someone is to commit a trespass against God. So when you're harming other people, it can be financially, physically, mentally, you're not only harming that person, in reality, you're also harming God. So here he says that holiness is a type of general refinement, is a perfection and exaltation, not necessarily limited to one particular point or area. And holiness here means that there are certain acts that are so full that one embarrasses not only himself, but he embarrasses Hashem too. So it's like when a kid doesn't act in his best way. You take him to the grandmother's house and he's jumping on the sofas and he's breaking her glasses, her vases, and he's destroying the house. He's not only embarrassing himself, he's embarrassing the parent too. Because the parent's like, okay, this kid is my kid. And look what he's doing. So it's my face in his. So the same way for Hashem, we're all his children. So when we're doing these things in this world that are not proper things, that are not the right things to do, we're really embarrassing the Father in heaven. So when one refrains from committing a transgression, it may be because one simply has no desire to commit such a transgression. In contrast, it may be that one is able to refrain from committing the transgression despite his desires. So the Midrash articulates, and Rashi explains this also, that when, for example, a Jew, they offer him baby back ribs, pork ribs in a place, and he would say, oh no, wakala, I don't want to eat this is disgusting. That's not the way of a Jew. That's not a holy way, because you know what? This is also from Hashem, that we cannot eat it. It's a different thing. So the proper way for a Jew to say is say, I do have a desire for this food. It smells delicious, but I cannot eat it because my Father in heaven has ordered me not to eat it. And this is the holy way to act. It's not like see things that we cannot do and then go with our nose like this and say, oh, no, we cannot. No, you know what? We do have the desire to do these things. We do have the desire. A Jewish religious woman, she does have a desire to wear blue jeans. She sees them in the street. She sees they're beautiful and they're comfortable. She would like to wear a pair of jeans. But you know what? This is not befitting for the daughter of a king. We don't dress that way. That's it. So here it says that the general conception of holiness is, in a certain sense, I have no desire. So people think that a holy person is that has no desires. He has no desires. And this is not true. We do have desires because we do have an animal soul inside of us that is instinctive, is animalistic, and it loves lust, and it loves all the pleasures of the world, the material world. We do have the desires. But the holy part of ourselves would say, you know what? Yeah, it looks very alluring, it looks amazing, but it's not for me. This is not what Hashem wants from me. So here it says that there is a clever explanation of the verse that says the wicked crows, and it's talking about Hillel, the sage, about his unbridled lust. And does a wicked man resemble the great sage Hillel? The answer is that even a man as distinguished as the sage, as Hillel the elder, is capable to descend and go down into the lowest of the lowest. So this is something that we learned in the Pirkei Avot also, that we have to be very careful and guard ourselves from falling, because everybody has the capacity to fall very low. Even the great sage Hillel, or the biggest tzaddik, if he doesn't guard himself, he can come to fall very low. So when it says, you shall be holy unto me, for I am God your God, and I'm holy, which it says in Leviticus, the Torah is talking about the glory of Israel. You are holy, you are uplifted, therefore you must not degrade yourself and sink so low. So what it's telling us is that we're made up in a certain way that we can be very, very holy. We have that potential inside of us. And Rabbi Steinsvall, he says that this is a good musar, this is a good learning technique for children. That most of the children will go very well with this. You don't need to scream at them, you don't need you don't need to punish them. You just look at the kid and you say, you know what, this type of behavior is not befitting for you. You're a much better person than what you just did. This doesn't go with you. And it says that that when a person is talked in this way, he comes and he realizes his godly soul kicks in and he realizes, yes, this is not for me. I shouldn't be doing these things. So here it says that the Midrash says that the meaning of the ascending angels and descending angels in Genesis, when Jacob lies down to sleep and he has a dream of the ladder, Jacob's ladder, the famous Jacob's ladder, what it's saying is that these angels that were ascending and descending, what they were doing was that they were watching the potential Jacob up in heaven, because we have two of us. We have one down here and one up there. The one up there has the potential of who you can become. The one down here is what you are actually living up to. So these angels were going up and down and looking at Jacob and trying to figure out if the same guy that was down here was the same guy that was up there. There's also, the Torah also explains that when a person passes away, the most painful thing for a soul that has departed is that when we pass away, they show us a movie of a person's life, of a person that is amazing. And we're watching that movie and this person is incredible, and then suddenly we realize that person is us. This is who we could have become in this world. And when the soul sees that the potential was not achieved in this world, that's the biggest pain that a soul can feel. That's really going on. It's the shame of not being able to live up to who we really should be. So he says here, the requirement of "you shall be holy, for I am holy" derives from the comparison of one's heavenly image with one's earthly image. This is why each morning we say when we wake up, "My God, the soul that you have given me is pure." What we mean by this is that the soul that we have is pure. God gave us a pure soul. The soul is perfect. It doesn't need to get better. It is a perfect soul. So we thank God that He gave us a pure soul. We have something to work with. It has a weight on us. It's our counterpart. So the soul that you gave me is pure. The Talmud states that just as the beams of a person's house testify against him, so do his own limbs and his own soul. And the Baal Shem Tov writes that a person's own soul will teach him, meaning that one feels embarrassment when facing his own soul, his own heavenly image. So when we are in tune with our heavenly image, we take more, we're more careful not to fall, because we have that sense inside of us that we are good, that we have something pure inside of us. And when we know that we have a purity inside of us, that we have this holiness inside of us, then we will be much more careful and not to end up being embarrassed about things we do or we say. So the requirement of holiness is at the essence of a Jew's very existence. It's part of us. It's intrinsic. And it's a connection with Hashem. That's why when Hashem says, "You shall be holy, for I am holy," because we do have that part of us that is holy. So because He's holy, we should be holy. If we live our lives according to Torah and mitzvot, if we live our life with that guide, then we should be holy. So here he says that sometimes a Jew makes a transgression that it's so severe that what happens to that person really is karet. Karet is that the soul of that person is cut from the Jewish people. It ends. It's finished. Why? Because if a person does such a thing, like he murders or he commits horrible crimes, he's no longer justification for his soul to continue its existence. There's no reason for it to continue. So he's lost in the sense that he's cut off from the source of his life, because the source of our life is God. Really, He's the source of our life. So if we are not going according to Him, then what's the reason for us to be breathing in this world? So it doesn't justify His existence. So you shall be my special treasure among all the peoples. You shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, which is the essence of Israel's chosenness, appears in Leviticus with special emphasis. So it says that the Jewish people is a kingdom of priests. obviously, since we sinned with the golden calf, Hashem didn't make everybody a priest. He gave it to Aaron HaKohen. But we were meant to be a nation of priests. Everybody should be a priest. And both literally and figuratively, we're in a sense the priests of all mankind with all the obligations that derive from it. So what he's saying here is that the Jewish people are really the big brother of the world. We're not better, we're not worse, we're not the Jews, the chosen people. No. You know, the chosen people for what? That's the question. People say, no, the Jews are chosen people. But they're the chosen people for what? They're the chosen people to bring morality, values, ethics to the world. This is our job. If a Jew is in this world and he's not acting according to what the purpose for which he was created, he's going against his essence. He's going against the whole purpose for him being in this world. So yes, we're the chosen people, but we're the chosen people to be the big brother of the world and bring to the world an awareness, a responsibility, to bring to the world knowledge, to bring to the world, show them the way, which is the way in which a person should behave. So the prophets too speak of the exceptional responsibility that goes with being chosen as a kingdom of priests, because the greater the person, the bigger his responsibility. If a person was brought up in a very religious home with an incredible father and an incredible mother, with incredible examples of life, and the parents showed him the way, and they were kind and giving and a holy home, this person has to live up to what he was given. He was brought in such a place, like there's no excuse for him to go out and do the opposite, because he was given that. He's giving that. He's already in the 80th floor. If a person is born in a house where the parents are not such good people, the father, the mother, they steal a little bit, they're not so kind to other people, they're not respectful, okay, this kid, this is where he's beginning. So he doesn't have such a responsibility as the other kid that was brought up in such an environment. It doesn't mean the kid that was brought up in this not so nice home doesn't have the potential to become like the great kid that comes from the great home. But the reality is that the more knowledge, the more is given to us. We have the Torah, we have the laws, we have everything written for us, we have a guideline. There is no excuse for us to go turn the cheek and live in a different way. We should be holy. This is holiness. Holiness is to resemble Hashem in this world. It means to everything you do, everything you say, everything you think is an expression of God in this world, is to reveal God in this world. So this parasha of Vayikra, which begins with the sacrifices, which are called korbanot, really korbanot doesn't mean offering, or it doesn't mean a sacrifice. This is not the translation to English, the correct translation. It comes from the word karov. That's the root word, which means to get close to. So all these things about the sacrifices in reality are meant to bring us close to Hashem. This is the purpose of this book of Vayikra, is to teach us how to be close to God. And in reality, when we're close to a God and we're acting in a godly manner, in a holy manner, because the Jew is meant to be holy and godly, then we're being able to be close to Hashem. So I want to wish you a good week, and remember, live a little higher. Thank you.